Afternoon, Bournemouth fans, and welcome to Cherries YouTube channel. And you join us on EFL Fixture Release Day, as I'll be joined by some special guests to take a look at AFC Bournemouth's calendar for the Championship season ahead, 2021-2022. Hope you're doing all well. It's a nice day today in Bournemouth, and let us know in the chat who is currently joining us and let us know your thoughts throughout. But make sure you help us and the channel try and get to 500 before the season starts. We're currently on 450. Really appreciate your support. But if you're not a subscriber yet, please do subscribe. And if you enjoy the next 45 minutes, also give us a like as well. So we're going to go through those fixtures, take a look, get some opinions from our guests. Should we do it? Let's get into it. And please welcome some Cherries Red Army regulars. We got Dan. How you doing, Dan?
I'm very, very good. Buzzing for this.
Excellent. Aaron, how are you?
Very good. Thanks, Kirk. Good to see everyone.
And AFC Bournemouth Stadium announcer, fan favourite, Mike Botto. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, very good to be along. Yeah. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. And it's been a bit quiet on the old AFC Bournemouth front since our season came to an end about 33 days ago. But it's great to get back into it, and the fixtures were released. Danny, now looking forward to the season?
Yeah, I think I am looking forward to the season. I think that we've gone through, I know for myself, and I'm sure a fair amount of other Bournemouth fans have gone we've accepted it now. We realise like the disappointments kind of gone now. I think obviously we are disappointed about the season, but I think that initial disappointment has gone, and we're now just ready for the new season. I'm optimistic about the new season, and still don't know who's going to be manager, still don't know who's going to be saying, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's going to get busy in the next month or so, I'm sure of that, Aaron. But the fixtures are released. We'll dive into it in a minute. But are you excited about how that league might look?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is all on the premise of getting back into the ground. I'm desperate to go to games home and away. Haven't been for 16 months, probably the longest for 40 years I haven't been to a game. So, obviously disappointed we didn't get promoted, but quite honestly, I just want to go to a game. Don't care what division, and just bring on the season.
I mean, I know we've got the Euros, Mike, but we always do like a bit of a break, especially when you have a relentless championship season. But with COVID and a lot of fans not being able to get into the stadium, I'm eager to get back there again. I was lucky to get there 3 times, but I know you're looking forward to hopefully getting some fans back in the stadium. Yeah,
totally. And we saw the difference it makes when you have fans inside the stadium. 3 games, 3 wins. So, be delighted to have people back, and hopefully in full stadiums as well, because that really would be fantastic.
So what we're going to do then for you that are currently joining us, we're just going to break this into chunks. So we're going to have a look at the opening 6 fixtures to start with, and we'll show them on the screen. And the opening 6 are at home on the 7th of August versus West Brom, Saturday the 14th of August away versus Forest. We've got Wednesday, the 18th of August, away versus Birmingham. Saturday, the 21st, at home to Blackpool. Saturday, the 28th, away versus Hull City. And Saturday, the 11th of September, home to Barnsley. Let's come straight to you then, Mike. As you said, we'd hopefully get almost a packed house back at the Vitality Stadium. I mean, we've had some good results against West Brom at the Vitality. And what an opening fixture that would be if we got a win just like we did last season.
Yeah, and I think it's one that I wouldn't be surprised to see played out on a Friday night or a Saturday lunchtime. I expect that the Sky cameras will want to be there for that one. I expect us to be in and around it again, and West Brom come down with a squad with a wealth of experience and quality. I think for them, the key appointment is if they can get Valérien Ismaël. I know they're rumoured to be taking him off of Barnsley, and I think if they get him, it's a perfect appointment. I think he suits their style of play. I think we saw him work miracles at Barnsley last season. For me, he was manager of the season. I think it'll be a tough ask.
Aaron, you're desperate to get it back into the stadium. I know I saw you there recently at the club shop when you were down. But what sort of fixtures stick out there? Because I think we could pick some points up.
Yeah, as Mike said, it's a tough start. Probably won't get much tougher, to be honest with you, against West Brom. Forest away sticks out. Obviously, I think the first away game for any fan, I'll say many fans, for any of us really, because even those lucky enough to go to the home games haven't been to any away games. So I think the first away trip that we can all go to is always going to be great. Forest is always a fantastic ground, traditional. Hopefully, be hot in the summer there in August. And yeah, just the thought of it now on a packed away end just giving me goosebumps. So I can't wait for that. Yeah, Birmingham's obviously a happy hunting ground for us over the years. So that's something to look forward to. Obviously midweek, so that's a slightly different dynamic. But yeah, I think obviously West Brom is a very tough start, but after that, certainly points to pick up. It's always difficult to know who's going to do well in the Championship year on year because teams that didn't do well previous season do well and vice versa. But certainly looks like we could pick up some points in that first few games.
What I would say is, if you look back to last season, the Norwich game was one of our first, if not our first, home game last season, and we set down a marker in that game, and actually it gave us a little bit of a spring in our step to start the season with. So it's maybe no bad thing having the first game.
Yeah.
And Dan, there's a few promoted teams in that first six. You've got Blackpool, you've got Hull, and we've also got an away fixture at St Andrews. We don't mind playing there sometimes.
No, we don't at all. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. It's interesting because obviously I agree with Mike there. I think that having a team like West Brom that have come down quite early is going to be a good thing. I don't know. It's. I mean, obviously we're speaking about this. A lot depends on what happens, but yeah, West Brom coming down, which will be a really good game. As Aaron said, we just want fans back in the stadium, and yeah, Blackpool and Hull coming up. It'll be interesting to see how they both do. I've got some family that live up near Hull, so I'll try and get that as an away game. Yeah, and obviously Birmingham. We like playing Birmingham. Let's have another repeat of history against them.
Now, Mike, this is a pretty difficult question to answer, to be fair, but I put a few polls out this morning, and I've asked, in those first opening 6 games, where do you think Bournemouth will be sitting in the league? And without a manager currently in place and a couple of players out of contract that have not signed new contract, not knowing whether we're going to get CCV back and any new players, but where would you expect us to be in those first 18 points?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's key we make a good managerial appointment and a swift one. And I think we need to establish our squad. My worry is that we'll probably still have players there that are looking to leave because the transfer deadline will not have closed. And I think that always makes for a bit of a messy August for a lot of teams, not just us. But I would, throughout this, I sat down with the fixtures this morning when they came out, and I thought to myself, actually, there's no one here that really intimidates me. And that's not coming from a place of arrogance. I just think it's going to be a very open league this season. But yeah, I would expect us to be in and around the shake-up for the top 6 at the very least.
There you have it, Mike.
There you go.
The AFC Bournemouth
fan
base.
Bottom 6. 5% of people voting for bottom 6.
Must be Watford fans coming on, probably.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Rent-free. So, Aaron, as you can see there through the current AFC Bournemouth fan base that voted on that poll, they think after the opening 6 games we'll be sitting in the top 6.
I mean, there's so many ifs and buts, as you said. I mean, I think the manager will come on to later. I think that looks like who it's going to be. But the big question is the players. Which of the playing squad are we going to keep? And if we do lose any, who are we going to replace them with? So it's very difficult to sit here right now and say how we're going to do. Either way, I'd like to think that, as Mike said, we'll be in around the top 6, certainly early doors, yeah.
And I think we said this last year, Dan. I mean, we looked at that. We were the first year parachute payment team, a very, very good squad. I mean, I fancied us for automatics. Playoffs was a minimum. And Mike said there, really, we should be confident going into this. But we're a second year parachute payment team now with 3 teams that have come down. So where are your expectations at the moment without a manager and not knowing what the squad's going to look like?
Yeah, it's an interesting question with everything being uncertain, like you say. I would like to think that we can still. My expectations is we can still get top 6. I think that's what should be our aim. I mean, obviously, automatics is the goal, but I think if we're looking realistically, top 6 would be good. It's going into the. We don't want a repeat of last time where we had like Josh King who wanted to leave, and we had that whole thing where a player can. I feel like players he's a very professional guy, Josh King. But even though his head was elsewhere, in terms of he wanted to lead, he still put in some good performances, and he still gave good effort, which I really respect. Wasn't a Ryan Fraser situation, but when his heart's not fully there, I don't think he can have the same performances. And is that going to be the same with someone like Dan Juma? He's got that little bit of arrogance you want in a player like that as a goal scorer. Is that going to come to I still think Dan Juma will go. He is way too good to be playing in the Championship. But I think even with those players, we've still got a very, very good squad. We've got some good young players coming through. Jaden Anthony, some more I'd like to see get some more game time. So yeah, I'm feeling relatively optimistic. Top 6, I think, should be what we're going for.
And if you've got any questions, currently watching now live, and you want to put it in the chat, if you want to ask Mike a question, Aaron, Dan, myself, we're happy to see if we can answer it on our feelings on the fixtures and the season ahead. Now, a spell that we struggled in, Mike, would be just after Christmas, or probably, I think it was New Year's Eve. We lost to Brentford. We did get a result at Stoke, but then we struggled through January, and that culminated in Jason Tindall losing his job. Let's just take a look at that January spell then that we have ahead of us, because it will be a period where we're going to need to pick up points like any other time, but it is a relentless league. This league is so tough.
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, I like the home games in January for sure. Peterborough and Hull have both come up from League One. So on paper, they feel like they're winnable games. I think Luton away and even Barnsley away, if Ishmael does move on, I think they're a different side. So I actually quite like the look of January, with the exception. We then hit West Brom in Feb, don't we? But yeah, January for me actually looks pretty decent on paper.
Anything then before the final 6, Aaron, that sticks out to you within the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to tell. I mean, you've got that's a midweek trip to Swansea, which is clearly going to be tough. I'd fancy Swansea to be up there, although rumours of Steve Cooper going to Fulham potentially is there as well. So, and I know they've lost Ayew as out of contract. He's going to go. Hurahan's probably gone back to Villa. So, if they lose their manager as well, Swansea might struggle more than they did last season. Blackpool away, Valentine's Day, I think, or Valentine's weekend. I think we'll all be taking the other halves up to Blackpool on a promise of a romantic weekend to tell them at 3:00 we're going to a game. So that's a good opportunity. But yeah, I mean, as I said, there's some long haul northern trips in the cold weather, which we might struggle in. But yeah, I mean, as Mike said, actually, at this stage, there's no real games that intimidate me. Obviously, we've lost Norwich and Watford, who we came down with, who clearly were always going to be up there, and they've gone. And Brentford have gone, obviously, who were again one of the outstanding teams of last season. So those 3 have gone, and yes, 3 have come down. But looks like Fulham are going to lose their manager, and West Brom obviously changed their manager, and Sheffield United as well. So no reason why we can't be up there. No one else particularly scares me.
And at the end of the show, we'll just touch on the manager situation at AFC Bournemouth as well. Looks like we have got a Swansea fan in the house. Amy says, we still don't know about Steve Cooper. Crazy. And West Brom as well. So it's not just us at the moment. We hope to think, Dan, that we're going to be in the business end of the season, say come April, May, in the final 6. Let's just take a look at them. So in the final 6 games will be 9th of April, 2022, away at Sheffield United, maybe against Aaron Ramsdale. 15th of April, we've got a home fixture against Borough. Monday the 18th is away versus Coventry. Saturday the 23rd at home versus Fulham. Saturday the 30th, away versus Blackburn. And a final fixture at home. I mean, you'll love that one, Mike. Saturday, 7th of May, home to Millwall. But Dan, final 6 games, hopefully we're sort of in the playoffs and we've got something to play for.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a couple of teams there that stick out that will likely be in and around us. Obviously, Sheffield United and Fulham both coming down. I mean, you never know. I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, Ramsdale was doing a little Q&A and David Brooks captioned it and said, come back. So you never know. Wouldn't mind that at all. Yeah, it's. I mean, ultimately, we play. Everyone plays each other. We're going to play It's going to be a tough season again, even without COVID. It's going to be games are going to be intense. It's going to be physical. We've experienced it before. We should take that experience of being in the Championship again and put it into this season. But yeah, everyone plays the same teams. Well, apart from themselves, obviously. But and yeah, it's Middlesbrough, Coventry, Blackburn. We did the double over Blackburn last season. So yeah, I like that as a final six. I have to say.
Could be interesting, Mike, that if we are trying to go for automatics, and that's me being really optimistic, and playoffs, that you could have home against Fulham, and that could be tasty for obvious reasons. Blackburn, okay, that could be hit or miss. And then home against Millwall. Generally, Millwall just fizzle out, their seasons fizzle out to about 12th, 13th, and they might not have anything to play for. So not a bad run-in.
Promotion party right there. Yeah.
Oh, they'd love that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Bring it on.
Final six, Aaron. Anything that you would worry about if we're trying to get a playoff place or maybe push for automatics?
I mean, Sheffield United away is clearly going to be tough. If we, if we're up there, that stage of the season and go there and get a result, then we're clearly in good shape. I would just hope that a hot bank holiday, hot May the 5th, and Millwall aren't playing for something as well, and we can see back to 1990 again. If Millwall are going for promotion, we're going for promotion, and it's a big day. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And as you said, they've got nothing to play for, because otherwise it could be very tasty.
A second poll went out. We've got some positive Bournemouth fans today, maybe because it's not raining, or wherever you are around the world watching. But they do feel we'll finish in the playoff places come the 46th game, and 60%. So optimistic Bournemouth fans at the moment. Dan?
Yeah, I think you should feel like you should be as a football fan. You should, regardless whether it be delusional optimism or realistic optimism. I feel like you should be that as a football fan going into a new season. You can't be going into it thinking, "Oh, I'm not feeling." You got to have that confidence. I feel until something goes wrong, which hopefully isn't this season. I'm almost certain we won't get relegated. I don't know why anyone's considering that. We've got a way too good of a squad. I think it's the thing. Would you be happy with playoffs again? Because I know I would be happy with playoffs. I don't know about any, but with the players we're going to lose. Obviously, we're going to have a new manager and everything. But I think that automatics it's a bit of a. I think we can do it. I think we can win the championship, but. It's a tough one to call, and it's all dependent on, as I said, so many unanswered questions that I'm sure we'll talk about in another episode when we know more information about players and manager. But at the moment, there's no reason why we can't get top six.
What we'll do in a moment then, if you're currently watching, we're going to want to know what game you're looking forward to most at home. It's easy to say the opening home game we're allowed back in the stadium, but what fixture you're looking to most at home, and what fixture away as well, an away day you're looking forward to. We'd love to know your thoughts. Stick them in the chat right now, and we'll also get the guys' opinions as well on who they would like to watch away and home. We'll check it out in just a moment. So, Mike, West Brom at home, opening day, hopefully a fully seated stadium, and hopefully best wishes to Nonny as well. Hopefully he's recovering well as well. I mean, give us your thoughts on that opening day, if it's some normality, and what other fixture you're looking forward to. Give me one game at home that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I love the games under the lights. So, and I was disappointed to see at this stage that there are only 3 that we've got at Dean Court under the lights this season. So, Tuesday, 14th of September, we've got QPR. November the 3rd, we've got Preston. And then the 9th of Feb, we've got Birmingham. So those 3 games, I think there's something really special about Dean Court under the lights. And so I'll cherish those. We've kind of touched on it already, but if we have a full stadium, West Brom at home, it'll be phenomenal. Last season was, for everybody, was strange from my personal perspective. It was pretty dire, really. It was just, everything was just so clinical. It didn't, yeah, there was just that even in the stand, me watching the team, there felt a disconnect, and I can't wait to have us return to normal. So hopefully we have that come August the 7th.
Looking to get back into the stadium, like you said, Aaron, we've talked about it many times. I mean, what fixture sticks out for you?
Yeah, like Mike says, I think the first game under the lights, without doubt, is QPR at home, September 14th. I think that for me is a full house there will be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think it'll be back to normal. I think, there comes a stage when we've done everything that's been asked of us. Everyone's been double jabbed, and if you're not going to go back to normal, then when are you ever going to do it? So, see the stadium in the Euros of Budapest was rocking, and it's just an amazing sight to see. And at some stage, we have to go back, and hopefully it is on August the 7th.
I know there'll be some vlogs coming on your channel, Dan. I mean, what fixtures are you looking forward to? What teams stick out and you think, oh, that's going to be a cracker?
Absolutely. I think, QPR under the lights, and my godfather is a QPR fan, so whether he'll be able to get an away ticket as well, I'm looking forward to that one. And as I mentioned before, Hull, I've got some family up there as well, so I think that'll be a good one. And maybe a cold, rainy night in Stoke as well. Who doesn't love that? But yeah, I can't wait to get the season started. And as Aaron and Mike have both said, just want fans back in the stadium, hopefully a full stadium, and get that noise going again.
Okay, right. Outside of fixture release day, 33 days on from that Brentford loss, and we're still trying to fill the managerial position. I mean, I'll come to you, Mike. I mean, Jonathan Woodgate potentially could have been given a shout. He did sort of cement a playoff place and maybe come unstuck in the second leg. But it does look like Scott Parker is the one that's in frame. It's they're sort of saying it's when, not if.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And I caught wind of this probably a year ago, the interest in Scott Parker, which took me back at the time. And I'll be honest, I kind of wrote it off as a suggestion because at the time we were the league below and his stock was pretty high. So yeah, I mean, what it does show is a level of ambition. I think, somebody coming away from Fulham because they want to come and work with us at Bournemouth, that speaks volumes. It injects confidence. I think you need a manager who's going to come in and who's going to be able to handle transfers out, but also attract new players. And I think if you're a young, up-and-coming player in the lower leagues, and I suspect that that may well be where we're picking players from. I don't know, but I assume we'll be looking at lower leagues. Then Scott Parker, you can imagine wanting to play for Scott Parker. So yeah, it strikes me as a good appointment. I have no real issue with Jonathan Woodgate. I thought, somebody said to me the other day, well, what's Jonathan Woodgate done wrong? And actually, in the large part, I don't know that Jonathan did do a great deal wrong. But you want somebody with experience and with a profile, like I say, that's going to attract the right players, because I think there definitely will be ins and outs in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, my only fear with Jonathan Woodgate is he struggled with a team a Middlesbrough team that was left behind by Pulis, and he might be in a similar position. Hopefully not, but a team that he's going to have to rebuild. The difference last time, I think, was he had a squad that was good enough to maybe just put on the pitch with a little bit of training. They didn't get over the line. They probably should have achieved more, but that's football. But Aaron, Parker, I mean, some fans do get frustrated when we don't hear what's going on. It's very quiet. A few months ago, it was very loud and we were being mentioned with everyone. I mean, are the club just trying to get this right? Because ultimately, he is still contracted to Fulham.
Yeah, no, I think they are. What's been strange to all of us has been their managerial odds for Bournemouth, which does seem very strange. I know there's mixed feelings about Scott Parker. I personally think he'd be a great fit. Yes, he did get them relegated. He did get them promoted. He clearly had a big falling out with the Fulham board, from what I've heard, many months now, actually, not just recently, which could have affected some of the things last season he might have wanted to do. So that might have played a part in some of the relegation things. He's young, he's hungry, he's got a good look, and that's quite important, I think. He speaks well. I'm not trying to clone Eddie Howe here at all, but I'm excited by it. As Mike alluded to, he, however unhappy he is at Fulham, it's his career at stake, and he has to make the next move, which is important for him. And I think it's a statement of intent to come to a potential championship rival. And I'd like to think, without being too naive, that he has been given certain assurances that he wouldn't come if we're going to sell 8 or 9 players. He might be able to persuade some of them to stay who otherwise might have gone. And if they do go, then certainly attract other players coming in the other way. And what's also interesting for me is he will be the first, what I'll call external appointment for many, many years. Eddie Howe obviously has been a god at this football club, but don't forget, when Eddie Howe was appointed, it was a cheap, crappy appointment. Little did we know he'd turn into the best thing that ever happened to this football club. But at the time, it was cheap. It was the internal option. So this will be the first external manager for many, many years. And I think that approach is good. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. Could we get better managers? There are clearly better managers out there, but realistically for us, I think it's potentially one of the best appointments we could get. Time will tell. And I think, come September the 1st, I think we'll all have a better idea of where we're going to stand with which players we've got available. And then I think we'll really know where we're going to aim for this season. But I'd like to think there'll be some ambition from the board. A lot of us said last year was our one shot. I still think we got half a shot this year to make it. And I think the board and Max probably know that. And then potentially that really could be the end of the dream of getting back up. But let's fingers crossed.
Aaron, can I ask, because I've had many a conversation like this over the last few weeks. People are saying, oh, this is our last shot. What does that last shot look like? Because we know that there are a number of players linked away. Is that last shot retaining the players we've got? Is that last shot attracting players that we can attract because we're Bournemouth, which seems mad to say, but still after all these years, but we're Bournemouth. We're still a reasonably big fish in that pond at the moment. How does it feel like it's
I would say it's a mixture of all of them, Mike. I think, obviously, we've followed Bournemouth for nearly 40 years. This is, as you say, I think this is the one time where players like Pearson, people like that would think, Bournemouth at the Championship, they're looking for promotion. Ben Pearson was a snip, so players like him. And I do think 5 years in the Premier League, although it was a dream for us, was a reality for a lot of players out there. And young players see Bournemouth being in the Premier League club for 5 years, and just losing out in the playoffs last year would probably give it another tilt. Keeping players is an interesting one. I mean, Dan was talking about Josh King earlier, who was in the last year of his contract. Players like Dan Juma have still got 3 years left in their contract, so there's a slightly different dynamic there. The guy can't sulk for 3 years and players like Brooks, who hardly had any game time for Wales. So I can't see him going anywhere, or certainly I can't see us getting a bid that would even attract us for him to go. So players like that, we might have one more season out of. In the way that Buendia probably stayed at Norwich and was going to go regardless if they got promotion, that might be the case with some of our players as well.
Is there that fear, Dan, that there's bigger clubs than us that have not got back to the Premier League at the first chance and have fallen down the leagues? I mean, you look at teams like Hull that have now come back, Stoke City. I mean, they're sort of hanging around down the bottom now. I mean, I still think we've got a chance, but there is that concern based on history.
Definitely. I think you've seen the history of, and I think to further what Aaron was saying about, I think that every season that we don't get promoted is just another, it's another way that we'll get, I say, stuck in the Championship. It's a horrible league to get out of. But to go with Parker, I think that it really, I've said this before, it really, really excites me. Whether he will end up coming to us, or it'll be a Eddie Celtic where he's confirmed for about 3 months and then doesn't actually come. We don't know, but it looks like he is going to come. Woodgate, I've said this before, he did what he had to at the end of the day. And I think he's a good guy. He showed a lot of passion. I think the appointment wouldn't necessarily excite me. I feel like he did what was necessary with a very talented team. And yeah, he didn't do anything wrong. But I think there are a lot of managers that could elevate us to that next level. And I think Parker's one of them. He's had that experience getting a team up to the Premier League. Obviously, he's got relegated, but Eddie got relegated with us, and we take Eddie back in a heartbeat. So yeah, it's something about the cardigan as well. I don't know. I feel like I can see him lifting the Championship trophy with on. It's just something about it. So yeah, I'm feeling good about it. Really, really good.
I just want to ask Mike. Sorry, It's easy for us to say as fans. You could have sort of the way we ended last season. We without talking about the wrong managerial appointments last season. Someone like Scott Parker comes in, turns round to the squad, Danjuma, Lerma included, and says, look how we ended the season. I'm here now. Give it one more shot and we'll get promoted. I think if we kept all our players with Scott Parker, and including Carter Vickers, for example, I think we would get promoted. But, so it's a case of how much does it play on the board's point of view that's sort of thinking we have to get money for Danjuma, or do you speculate to accumulate and say, yes, we might not get the money now, but if we get promoted with this squad, which we should do, then the riches of the Premier League counteract what we might have got for Danjuma and Lerma now.
Yeah, I think the appointment is a statement of ambition, as we've said. I think it's really key that we only keep players that are genuinely going to buy into this season, because I think they've, you say there, give us one more season. I think that probably was the case with a number of players last season. I think we may have already played that card. So I would love to retain a lot of that squad because there's real quality, but I only want to retain it if they really are going to buy into this season and really want to be a part of it. And I don't know. I don't know just how much those players that are being speculated about leaving want to buy into it. Some of the social media stuff you've seen would suggest perhaps one or two, not so much. But yeah, Scott might come in. If it is Scott, if it's Woody, whoever, someone might be able to keep them. But I think it's really important that we keep hold of the players that are really going to buy into it and want to be kept hold of. And the ones that need to go, I think we just get the best money we can for them, really. And Neil Blake is proven at doing that. I mean, he's got a great track record in terms of getting the right fee for players.
And Mike, it's not the Premier League, but on a positive, no VAR, hopefully, unless they change the rules. And we get an extra 8 games in the Championship. So it's not all bad.
Dan was saying it's a horrible league, and then he followed it up with to get out of. It's a horrible league to get out of, absolutely. Yeah. But it's a brilliant league to be in, because it's just wall-to-wall football, and the games are competitive. You don't go into any game thinking we're going to get tonked, or certainly that's not my experience of this league. So, I'll bring it on. I'm really excited to have a season in the Championship, and a regroup or a rebuild, one way or the other.
Don't forget, I was going to say, this is the division we've been dreaming about being in for most of our history. So
yeah.
Final 10 minutes then, guys, and we'll sort of wrap this live stream up. Thank you for everyone who's currently joined us. Make sure you give us a subscribe if you're not a subscriber already, and a like as well. And once that managerial appointment's been done, Dan, it's the squad. Now, and we've sort of alluded to it already, I can't imagine that Scott Parker would leave a 2-3 year contract he has at Fulham, no matter what problems he's got behind the scenes, unless he's got reassurances that he's got a half-decent squad to play with next season.
Yeah, it does feel that way. I think, Aaron was saying, and I think a lot of the media have been saying that he's had a fallout with the boards, and it does speak volumes that he would want to come to us. And there's got to be some reassurances that we've given to him. I would imagine so. Anyway, I agree with Mike. I've said this before, that I'd much rather have players that are passionate, that want to be here, rather than you want. Especially, I've said this before about when we went up, players were overachieving. And that's what we want. We want passionate players that are overachieving rather than technically better players. Because I think technically, you look at the team that we had last season to the team that went up, and you'd say the team that we had last season was significantly better on paper. But the players that we had when we went up, there was passion, and they were overachieving. They were buying into sort of the philosophy that Eddie had, and that's hopefully what we can do with Parker. And we want players like Pearson, who's a Championship player and that can overachieve, rather than Danjuma, I think, is going to leave, but you want players like, I think, Josh King. As much as he's a great guy, he's done loads for the club, I think he was underachieving for us last season, and I would much rather have players that are buying into the philosophy of, let's say, Scott Parker, and collectively join together, all want to be there, all in this project, and overachieve, like Barnsley have done, for example. Fingers crossed.
Do you think, as fans, I'm trying to think of a season aside from last year where I've not started the season with expectations that we're a bit of an underdog. I'm not sure that we're used to, and maybe that didn't sit too well with us last year.
Yeah,
being the big fish in the pond. Like, I genuinely can't remember a season I've gone into. I always go into, like Dan was saying earlier on, I've always gone into a season thinking, oh, you never know, kind of, optimism and ignorance is bliss and all of that going into a season. But I don't know that I've ever gone into a season genuinely believing that we're gonna win the league or we're gonna get promoted. It's always been hope rather than expectation. And whereas last season we had expectation, and that for me as a fan was a bit of an alien feeling.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I actually looked on paper at the start and I thought we're going to finish top 2. And then we beat Blackburn 3-2 and I thought we're going to outscore teams. And it was all good. But as you run in through the season, you then get stuck in that championship. And if you don't have the right mentality, or you can't work out how to beat football teams, which is what we sort of came up against, we sort of struggled, didn't we? But I am a little bit more cautious. It's all depending on what it looks like in about a month's time, I think. If Scott Parker comes in, what the squad looks like. And looking at that squad, Aaron, I mean, my raw feeling, I think I was on TalkSport after the Brentford game and I was really frustrated. And my raw feeling was we're going to lose about 7-8 players. Smith out of contract, Stanislas out of contract, CCV, Wilshere, short-term deal. Dan Juma's likely to go. I mean, are we going to lose 7-8, or could potentially we keep the likes of Lerma, maybe get CCV back?
I don't think we're going to get CCV back, unfortunately. Much as I'd love it, unless Scott Parker's got maybe a link he had at Spurs with him. I can't remember if they got any sort of relationship or not. But I think a Premier League club might come in from Newcastle. Rumoured, clearly they're trying to take all of our players. But having said that, if a Premier League club doesn't want to take a chance on him, then again, we're an obvious destination for him. You've already mentioned Wilshere, Raquelme obviously have gone, bit part players last season anyway. Stanislas and Adam Smith obviously love to keep, but again, if their heart's not in it and they want a new challenge, it's difficult. Out of the two in contract, I would say the most likely, as we've said, are Dan Juma and Lerma to go. Obviously Lewis Cook's still going to be out for some time, so Lerma goes and then he won't be available either for quite a period of time, probably till November or December, I would say. The rest of them, I'd like to think we'd keep the likes of Kelly and as I said, Brooks earlier. I still think Brooks has got a lot to prove to any suitors that he's as good as in his first season for us. And I certainly don't think we'd get the value that we would potentially think about selling him at. So yeah, I still think Dan Juma would go. I wouldn't be surprised if Lerma goes, but who knows? I mean, they're under contract for not just 1 year, so who knows?
We're not alone in that, though, are we? I mean, there are clubs up and down the country that will be having a small retain list and will be letting 7 or 8 first teamers go, or 7 or 8 first teamers will leave. So, yeah, I don't know we're alone. And I think if you cite Ben Pearson as an example of the kind of player we're looking to recruit, if we can recruit a squad of Ben Pearsons who are young-ish players who have got a real appetite and hunger to get promoted to the Premier League to prove themselves, which is what we had under Eddie, that suddenly feels quite exciting, I think. So, like I say, if players want to be here, terrific. And but we're a bit spoiled, I think, in that we've had a fairly consistent squad now for a few years, and that's not necessarily the norm, is it?
No.
And a final point on that then, Mike, is we might have a reduced technical ability football team and squad next season. So one thing to me that's obvious is, as fans, we've got to get behind the club. We've got to get behind the players. And when I say about the players, you go back 33 days and Chris Mepham had one of the worst moments in his career, potentially. He could potentially be our first team centre-back come opening day. And we're going to need to get behind these players, because we might need to get them over the line, because the technical ability might not be up there enough, and we might need to get them over the line in spirit.
Yeah, look, we as a crowd, we can be a power for good or a power for bad, can't we? And I wonder what the ground would have been like at times last season. I imagine, from what I see on social media, the atmosphere could have been pretty toxic. So in some respects, perhaps it was it was never a good thing that we didn't have fans in the ground. But perhaps that actually allowed the boys to play with a level of freedom that they might not have otherwise played with. So yeah, it's got to be a fresh start, and I think a new managerial appointment, if that happens, would provide that. And to use the old cliche, we go again.
Final thoughts then, Dan. Summarise. Fixtures are out. It's going to probably get busy in the next week or so. New manager, and then hopefully we can understand what players are in and what players are out.
Yeah, I think we've got to make some signings. And I like Mike was saying, I want players like Ben Pearson that have had they've, even if they haven't had experience in the Championship, players that are coming from maybe League One, League Two that have performed well, that are hungry, young. Because I think that. Because I remember thinking at the start of the season, I think, oh God, we got some real squad depth here. And I thought, and I remember looking at the bench of the Brentford game, I was thinking, that's our bench. Like, it looks so, not to say they weren't like, we had some good young players, but experience-wise, I was thinking, really lacked some experience on the bench once Rico came on. We really did lack some experience. And
well, look at Wickham away, Dan. Look at Wickham away. When
exactly.
we changed the team up.
Exactly. It just baffled me because I thought that because we did. I think we lost a few players. Offerbore, Simpson, and Josh King, obviously. So that would have contributed. Obviously, Cook getting injured, but even still. So yeah, definitely some decisions to be made. Transfers to be in and out. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Aaron, final summary. Fixtures released. Season ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's very difficult now. I would like to think in a week's time we'll certainly have a manager in place. We'll begin to know more about the players within the next few weeks. I think it's a big season for the likes of Jayden Anthony, Gavin Kilkenny, because are they going to be given a shot, or are they going to or are we going to go and Sam Surridge obviously of course as well to play more of a part. So I think the key is the signings, as Mike said. What we are now is be able to attract the best of Championship and below. So any kind of Championship teams like Ben Pearson, for example, at Preston, or League One teams would think we're the big shots. So that's who we can attract. I'd love to get someone like Armstrong from Blackburn, for example. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the season, getting into games, going to games, and I think that's the be all and end all right now, and hopefully we can perform and do us proud.
Mike, it's great to have you on. Really appreciate you giving your time to us. Hope to see you in person on the 7th of August, or if it's a Friday night. But you sound like you're feeling pretty positive going into this.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I think it's an exciting season. I think last year there was still a bit of a hangover for all of us, probably. It was a short close season as well, wasn't it? So there was a bit of a hangover from relegation for players, staff, fans alike. But hopefully there'll be a freshness about the club come August the 7th.
Cheers, guys. Really appreciate you joining me live this afternoon. And thank you to you, the viewers that joined us live. And for those who comment, please give this video a like. And remember, when something breaks inside AFC Bournemouth, new manager, players in, players out, we'll bring it to you. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Enjoy the rest of your day. Until the next video, we'll see you soon. From me, Dan and Mike. Up the Cherries and Aaron.